Hello, guys. Welcome to Two Latin Brothers podcast, also known as T.L.B.P. I'm joined with my brother.
Yeah, me.
Well, Adrian.
Yes,
and me, Victor.
No, me. Everyone's just confused now. Everyone's just straight up confused.
Well, today, actually, we are joined by our sister today.
You can say hi now.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
I mean...
And just to clarify, I am Victor.
I am Adrian.
And I am the Latin brother sister, Bela.
There you go. Short for whatever. Anyway, not the point. You can talk a little louder. Just a little louder. You know, because levels and sounds and whatnot.
Cool.
It's annoying.
You can do that.
Right, Victor. So this is our sister. It's kind of odd to because normally we have a structured form where we ask questions. In this case, because normally we don't one of us doesn't know the other person that well that we have on the podcast. But in this case, we both grew up with you, so we know you.
You guys know me pretty well.
We know you fairly well, so it's it was a bit of a challenge. So I think one of the questions, well, for me anyway, my question was growing up as a 90s kid, what, I guess the transition between 90s to 2000s, because you lived both the 90s and the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
So this weird transition between, the flip phone and then the full screen phone for all those.
How did that feel to you?
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
You remember dial-up?
Oh, my goodness. Don't even get me started on dial-up. Goodness. How should I say it? In comparison to your generation, Victor, I mean, we had to be patient for everything and anything. Yeah, I wanted to, literally, it would take 10 minutes just to load a page on the internet.
Well, nowadays, what is it? If it takes longer than 3 seconds for a page to load, hit back.
Yeah.
Everyone just hits back.
Or you just click, close, refresh. And restart, refresh. Of course, I'm like that now, too, but
Well, it's because we're this generation of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of funny.
Well,
but
what can I say about the 90s? There was no sense of fashion. And at least, that. It was just, the bold cuts and, the bold haircuts.
Well,
and, I don't know, the overalls.
Well, yeah, but
turtlenecks.
We were more, less...
Everybody wore plain colors. If you wore, you just wore plain colors. You just... and all bold one
black,
color,
white.
yeah.
I'm like that now. What do you mean?
And then, as we head into the 2000s, I remember, the different hairstyles. I mean, well, at least for as a girl, you had all these different. You had the higher the ponytail, the crazier. You literally would have your hair split in the center and have the highest ponytail in the center of your head, and that was fashion. And you're okay.
Oh yeah. Also, I think we should say this. You're the first female on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm honored.
It's our first female
on the podcast.
Probably gonna get another one at one point. I have to because.
I'm sure, but I'm honored to be the first.
Yeah, the first. Feminism.
We're
not gonna make it a feminist episode, guys.
Oh goodness! Don't go that. Don't
go
that route.
The funniest thing. What are your thoughts on? I'm not gonna go there. So yeah, that's really all you got to say about the 90s.
I mean, like I said, it's a lot of plain colors. Everybody pretty much no fashion, and then we hit the 2000s and everything was crazy. It was I don't know. In my time, it was just it started getting more funkier and more
funkier.
Yeah, you had the colored, and you'd have girls with getting fake strands of colored hair or whatever. You started getting more color and patterns and I don't know. I'm talking clothing-wise. I don't know what else to talk about.
I mean, even TV shows changed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. TV shows, movies, goodness.
A lot of stuff changed, but I mean, I think also it's the change of a century occurred, right?
Oh,
so,
for sure.
Everyone's the world's gonna end, and then nothing happens.
But, I mean, I'm one of those people who still goes back and watches all those,
Well, you also lived through 2 times that the world was supposed to end.
Yeah, I had to
the year 2000 and then the year 2012.
Yeah, I had to live through
goodness.
reruns.
I remember my friends and I were in school. We would just talk about how we knew people, or somebody knew a crazy old woman who had a stash of creating her own little personal bunker in her basement with cans of
I mean, we all still know someone like that.
Soup. Yeah. Oh, of course.
We all still know someone like that. I mean,
but every time everybody was do you think the world's gonna end, or what's gonna happen?
Yeah. What's your question before we enter some other stuff?
Well, I feel she should let people know a little bit about herself, right? So, what are your hobbies? Favorite things to do, you know?
I love to sing.
Stay posted.
I'm not that.
Maybe a YouTube channel someday.
I don't know if I'll do that, but
still working on convincing her to do it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, it's just, I don't think I'm that great as I'm told, but I mean,
Like, you've been told that by multiple people, even people who are in the know, and yet you're still like, no, I don't think so.
yeah, no.
But
It's
like-
just, it's something I just love to do. I don't just do it because I want
like,
it.
what
I
is
just
it?
do
I
it,
think
or I
it's-
want to show off. I love it.
I think it's Rihanna who also, like, she says that if she hears her own song on the radio, she'll shut off the radio or change like the the station.
Well, it's because you're hearing it
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
no, because she
right?
she says she doesn't like hearing herself. Right, so that's just like the thing, right? So like,
Yeah.
people just are like super, I guess, negative towards themselves really at this point. So they
Probably.
don't
I
like.
don't know if I'm negative about it, but it just, yeah, I don't know.
All right.
We'll see.
So those just.
What else?
Just say that's our only hobby, guys. On a boring person.
Let's see.
It's not my only hobby, but like, yeah, it's probably one of the things I like to do most. I don't say I like to read, but more like articles and stuff like that.
So like nonfiction.
Yeah, well, yes and no. It depends on the
Educational
fiction.
articles.
Yeah, I like to.
Like it has to be like a specific type of fiction.
Yeah, or something I can just read fast.
Like because there are those books that are like addictive.
Yes, and then I just don't want to stop, and I have to finish it because.
And then it finishes, and you're all sad that
I'm
you
like,
finish it so
but
fast.
at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is a really bad thing to say, but like, all through high school and all the novels we had to read, I was like that person who always like read it and then never finished the ending. I would just hear about it. There's something about finishing a book.
Like, what is it like?
That I just couldn't finish it.
Is it the whole world to relate to this one? To Kill a Mockingbird?
Oh goodness.
Everyone like you didn't apparently.
I didn't finish that one.
You made me finish reading it.
Yes, because I
Did you ever read To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yeah, I read the entire book. Actually, what I did is I read the last page first and then read the whole story.
Okay, well, like in our case, well, in my case, I had to. Can't remember where I was going with that.
Sorry.
But I remember you making me.
I saw a little otter once. I had laryngitis. I've been suffering with it since last week. I can at least talk. Like I literally was like worried I wasn't gonna be able to talk on this podcast because we had already scheduled it.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
2
I
weeks
was like,
ago.
oh great, I have no voice.
So you have to coordinate because you have a job. Well, I mean,
Sorry.
it's hard enough as it is, like between for us, because like Victor
Yeah,
has
yeah.
school, I'm in college, so that's even more. But like, and then you have
Yeah.
work, so it's like.
Anyway, I cut you off. You were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna say how like in my case, like when it came to books in school, I always read through them all, and like a lot of them, like what is it? There's what was it? The Lord of the Flies. Did you ever finish The Lord of the Flies?
I don't. How did it
Oh,
end?
did she?
I don't remember.
How did it end? The boys were spoiler alert. The boys were rescued.
Oh yes, I did finish that one. Yes, I
Or did
finished
you
that
just
one.
watch the movie in
No.
class?
Or did you just wait for the class discussion about
Oh,
the
God.
ending?
I don't know. I'm gonna say I finished it. Just so.
Did you read the Chrysalis? The Chrysalis or the Chrysalis?
Oh yeah, I did read that one.
Did you finish it?
Not there yet.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Probably not. I finished all the Shakespeare. I remember that.
I didn't do all the Shakespeare.
I did like Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Othello. I missed
might not
Hamlet.
do
I missed out on
Othello.
Hamlet.
I missed out on Hamlet too.
I
I mean, my grade 12 teacher, he's like, you guys don't need Shakespeare. We're all done with that.
Yeah, no, we didn't do that.
What is it? I did Romeo and Juliet. I did Macbeth. I did Othello. I really liked Othello though, but like the one thing was is like I had like my teacher kept comparing me to the villain. So that was odd. Like, I mean, she's like you'd be perfect. Like, because we would do like a little act thing in class. You'd be perfect for this role because that's who you are. I'm like, what? And she called me out, like, because I used to sit like in the back of my English class, like the last possible row, against like the window, like in a corner, like in case something happened, I could just jump out the window because it's on the first floor. I was like, quick escape!
Yeah.
But like,
I'd probably say my favorite was like Macbeth, only because my friends in it. Well, not yeah, I guess we were kind of my friends.
I have to read Macbeth.
They were.
But I already have a general idea.
We made like a
what it's
movie. We had to make like a movie of like the whole thing, and what was it? I think it was just the second act actually. I can't recall, but we made like a movie and that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I
Like,
remember that. Yeah,
like,
they came here to do
yeah,
that.
they came over like,
Oh, yeah.
and we did that and.
Flashbacks.
Flash. You were like, what, 4?
Whoa. No, I wasn't
Yeah.
4.
You were a little older than that. You were like probably like 8. No, you were like 6.
6.
No, 5.
You were like,
No, 6.
I don't know how
You were
old
5.
were.
If you were 5, I was 11.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because she would have been 15.
But anyway.
I mean, they don't know. No, what was I saying? But yeah, no. So you would have been,
Roughly 5.
Yeah.
I don't know.
At an eyeballs glance. I pull out my calculator real quick. The guy got to crunch some numbers.
Yeah.
Just gonna sit over here typing out numbers.
No, but like that's the one I remember. I remember we went to the park too. And we did like some scenes at the park. We did some scenes at the house. Like, we did some scenes. We even used the tech room. We used the green screen and everything. We used the stage. It was just loads of fun to do. I love that one.
You guys went I think you guys really
Went overboard.
Yeah,
We did, and then we had we even had at the end bloopers and stuff.
Oh yeah, I always whenever I had to film something, I'll add bloopers, and sometimes I'll even make bloopers because we don't have any bloopers.
Oh goodness,
so,
no, we had bloopers. We would mess up every other line.
What is it? No, in my case, whenever we have bloopers, I'll literally I'll be filming and then I'll intentionally mess up so we can add it as a blooper. Because it's it's so solid.
That
all the
reminds
way
me. I remember the one scene we recorded on a stage in the green room because we were using the green screen in the background. I remember we couldn't get the lines for some reason, and so what we did was we voice recorded our lines and then recorded, and we had one person holding the recorder next to the camera, and because we put the camera so far out that we just moved our lips.
And hoped it would coordinate.
And just put our hair in front of our faces.
Really lip syncing.
Literally, except it was for a movie, and it sounded a little odd because the audio just didn't match the rest of it. But you can't really tell. I mean, we also had some parts. Somebody would be holding the lines on the side, and you're trying to read it but not look at it. And sometimes we just forget, and you're just literally staring at the book and not the person, and it's just funny. And it's just a fun experience, I think.
No, yeah. Also, we haven't really actually talked of the aspect that we're Latin.
Yeah.
At all. The podcast is called Two Latin Brothers.
Brothers? Oh, goodness.
But we haven't hit the
What can
Latin.
I say?
How we were raised.
Aside from the stereotypical stuff, but
the thing too is just because we live in Canada, we're not we have certain attributes about us that fall back on that. That's how our parents raised us. So, but in our case, it's more of we have dual
I would
cultures.
just say for the most part, it'd be Latin at home, and then as soon as you walk out the door, it's you're in Canada. Kind of type of thing.
Well, yeah, depending on who you're with,
depending who you're with, and yeah.
If I'm with Latin people,
your Latin self.
Well,
is
I
coming
think
out.
my inner Latin comes out.
Okay, one thing I can say is for sure is we're very good at Spanglish. We're so good at Spanglish.
Yeah.
We got this down.
No, in our case, when we're at home, we're constantly transitioning between English and Spanish. So one of the things for me is when we're recording, sometimes I'm trying really hard not to say because I don't know some guy in Japan could be listening. He only speaks English, right?
Yeah.
Or he speaks Japanese and English, but or some guy in Russia and he has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So I don't.
They just sound funny.
Yeah, it's what's that word he said?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure. But myself personally, I'm very proud of my background. I've always said I'm Latina. I speak Spanish, and people are always. I've never gotten a bad reaction towards it. I've always gotten a really good reaction. People always be oh, that's so cool. Teach me something or say something, or I've always wanted to learn Spanish. I wish I could learn Spanish. I love your language, and people have always given me a positive, for the most part, I'd say, reaction.
You never felt a bias towards you because you are?
No, not necessarily. I think if you're around only English speaking people, then I would say
sometimes you forget
and then you start talking, and I'll see someone and I'll start talking in Spanish. I'll see I'll get a reaction whoa, why are you talking in another language?
Yeah, no, in my case it happens a lot. I'll be talking with
it just catches them off guard sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm at the college and I'll run into someone, they they speak Spanish, and it's really funny because sometimes you're with a bunch of white people and you'll be laughing, and I have these moments where like for like that instant moment I'll forget that I'm not white because I'm surrounded by so much white people, and it'll be this like really awkward thing because they'll make a joke about white people and I'll laugh, and then everyone at the table will turn and look at me and be like, why are you laughing? You shouldn't be laughing.
It's true.
And
I'll agree
I
with
just
that.
be like, hey, you made a joke.
No, but like it's one of those awkward situations because I grew up here, right?
Yeah.
I'm a part of their culture, right? I've been surrounded by it my whole life.
You're a Canadian?
Yeah.
It's just that,
I don't look it.
yeah.
Well, and we're what we call, what you call heritage speakers,
Yeah.
like we didn't grow up in Latin America, but we speak the language.
But like, what is it like right now? Where I'm doing like this thing for college, and everyone there is like an immigrant to the country. And when they first saw me, like I don't look Canadian, and everyone was asking me when I got to Canada, and I was like, "Cause your English is really good. Like, did you get here when you were like very little, or like I'm like I was born here?"
Yeah,
they were all
I get that question a lot.
Yeah, and they were all like, "Whoa!" And then like there's like someone there who also speaks Spanish. She's like, your Spanish is also like really good. Like I had no idea. She's like, you telling me that you were born here, raised here, and you learned Spanish here? She's like just what?
Yeah, no, I mean if there's something like I would say is like I used to get like upset, well not upset, but like I didn't like the fact that I always have to explain where I was from necessarily, because I would be like, I'm Canadian, and then people would be like, well yeah, but what's your background?
Yeah.
And like I'd always have to explain like, oh, I'm part Mexican, part Salvadorian, like
Yeah.
But,
I
mean it didn't bother me, but it was just like, okay, like how come you didn't ask the other person or whatever?
Well, I mean, you're not gonna ask someone like, right? Like one of the things I've noticed is like working with like I've noticed that certain people won't ask. Like I remember I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. He's Canadian, and he's like 7th generation Canadian or something like that now. And he says that to him, he doesn't really care. He's like, because at the end of the day, my was like one day your family and your kids, if you stay in Canada, he's like, they will be me. He's like, because the generations, and they'll be pure Canadian at that point, regardless of their of what they look
we're
like.
all Canadian, but it's just
yeah, but I mean, there won't be that. He's like, there won't be that bias anymore because
I guess that's it. I think it's just the kind of thing like I'm Canadian and that's it.
Well, also Canada's a young country, so like
that's the thing.
We're working out the
when I
kids.
went
151 now?
Well, 152.
152. Oh, that's right.
Well,
no, this July will be 152.
Well, that's actually a really good point, because when I went abroad, when I went to Spain, of course, it's a Spanish-speaking country, but like when I would when I would present myself as a Canadian, people would be like, "Oh, you're Canadian, okay." And they wouldn't ask me what's your background or whatever.
They'd just be like, okay,
they just like
Canadian.
okay, and they knew I had a Latin background because I was speaking in Spanish to them. But
also your accent in Spanish isn't
exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't have an accent.
It isn't that white accent.
That's another thing too. Like I always say this, like because we were born here and our parents have lived here for so long too, they don't really have accents. And so whenever we're talking to someone, either it's Colombian or Argentinian,
their accent will stick to me.
And
yeah, actually, I was told this the other day by someone who's from Venezuela. She told me, you have a neutral Spanish accent.
Yeah, that's
and I was
it.
like, I haven't heard that one before.
And we have this I mean, I think it's a gift. This great ability to, pick up on people's accents within like just 3 minutes of a conversation, 5-minute conversation. And I'll pick up on who, if you're talking to someone from Venezuela, I'll start talking like Venezuela.
Like it's also because like we learned by hearing, right?
Yeah.
And also like because when we were growing up, our parents hung out with a lot of people from many different places. Yeah. So because of that, our accent never like properly formed in our Spanish. So whenever we're like, oh, that guy's from that place, or that person's from that place, as soon as they start talking. But I think what's interesting is that because we ourselves aren't defined by an accent, when we talk, everyone's like, where are you? And also like the words we use, we interchange certain words
so like
based on the country.
Exactly. Like that's a lot of things. Like we were always saying, there's a lot of, we mix a lot of, even our parents, they come from different countries and like they have different slang or sayings that they don't have, like dad will have.
There's this like little thing that we have in our family where they're always complaining about the name of a fruit. And they're just like, it's this fruit. And it's like, no, that's not that fruit. It's this fruit.
And like, this fruit's another name for another one. And like, it's a constant like argument. And we're just like, well, this fruit doesn't exist in Canada. So what are you talking about? Show me a picture. Google it.
Yeah, like, but like, I think one of the things too is like how we've learned to like, just like live with that.
Yeah. And I think, well, I mean, it's in the odd occasions that there'll be words that, like, let's say that they use in El Salvador for something that will be a bad word for our mom in Mexico. Be like, oh, that's a bad word. Like don't say that. Like,
but like it's like,
but like it's kind of a thing where it's like an unknown thing, an acceptable thing that like mom won't take offense to it if we say, because she knows what we mean when we're saying, because that's how dad like says it, and like this is what he means, and so like mom doesn't take offense to it because we said it, because she just knows, oh, that's how the way you were raised. And even our grandparents too. Like I remember, like when I used to talk with grandma on our dad's side on the phone, like I used to say expressions and be like, "Órale," and she'd be like, "Oh, we don't say that." Like
actually, I can remember when I was talking to our grandpa from our dad's side, and I said that, and he told me, he's like, "Your Mexican showing.
Your Mexican's coming out."
He's like, "Your Mexican showing." I'm like, "Well, my mom," and he's like, "All right." Like it was like this good laugh. But like one other thing, like that's very true. But have you also had like this time where like people will ask you where you're from?
Oh, of course.
And you say, like, especially with the Latin person, you'll say you're Canadian, and they'll like totally reject. No, where are your parents from?
Exactly.
Right? And that's like
they'll
the
like
Latin pride thing. That's like
you.
that's like a Latin pride thing. It's like, my country, and like Latins are very like to their.
We have a high ego kind of.
No. We're just proud of our heritage, right? So, and our culture too. Like it's a very distinctive culture that like many all around the world, certain people copy our culture. Like, because it's, and not, especially in today's era, like Spanish music has moved, like, especially Latin music, everyone's listening to it. English speakers, French speakers, wherever you are.
Like, and ever since Justin Bieber, like, took out Despacito, everyone's just like, oh, yeah.
We all kind of knew Despacito already by Luis Fonsi in Latin America, but like, or even here in Canada, we kind of like, because we know these artists already, everybody's like, did you hear Despacito? And like, we'll be like, yeah, the song came out a while ago.
6 months ago, where are you at?
Exactly.
But like for them,
or did you hear about this artist, like Prince Royce, or
like there are certain things like in that aspect, or like and because of that, it's been super interesting. Like especially I have friends who they'll tell me about an artist, and I'll be like, yeah, and then he's like, I'm like, oh, he's singing English now? Like, sometimes I'll be like, since when do they sing in English, right? Because, like, I'm like, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, he sings in Spanish. And he has for, like, the past 4 years.
He's got platinum records in Spanish already.
Well, where are you at, man? Like, he won a Latin music award. He's won a Latin Grammy. Like, the guy's well established, right? And stuff like that. But I think it's ironic, too. Like, for them, they're like, oh, I discovered this new person. Like, you'll never, like, this is so cool. And I'm like,
I've known about him for months. Like, no, for example,
sometimes years.
Yeah, like Julio Iglesias, he sings in so many different languages. Like, you'll hear his songs, like, in Japanese, in English. Portuguese, yeah. There's like so many different languages.
Oh yeah, no, like Celine Dion's done basically the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And she's Canadian. I like that. Canadian pride,
She sings Celine Dion's. What is it? What's the name of the song she sings in Spanish?
I can't remember right now. Goodness. Honestly, it's been like so long since I've heard her music.
My goodness.
Like whenever I'm feeling really like I'm feeling my Canadian side, I'll play like a Canadian playlist to have on my phone. I'll be like,
I just remember she sings. I don't remember how it goes. It's something about a love or whatever.
Yeah, no, like
that's normally Latin music.
All Latin music. It's like she broke my heart, or he broke my heart. Now I'm all depressed, and I gotta figure
Luis Miguel,
or like I'm totally.
Oh goodness, we grew up with so much Spanish music.
Yeah.
Okay, our mother is like obsessed with this artist called Luis Miguel, and like the crazy thing is, our mother probably doesn't know the lyrics to a full song, but we know like his whole albums. Like we would be woken up in the morning when we were going to school. Like mom would be like, she wouldn't even tell us get up or something if she didn't. All you just hear is Luis Miguel on the radio blasting. Like that would be what you would wake up to, or Julio Iglesias.
And she'd be like the Sol de Mexico, the son of Mexico, and we're just like, he's not even from Mexico.
Yeah, we had we
literally like totally like ruined it for our mom, because like we Googled it, and he's like, he was born in Puerto Rico or something, and it's like, Mom, he's actually not like the son of Mexico, like the highest. It's like an honor that they've given him as a name.
Yeah. Well, like, what is it like? Also, what is it like? Also, like,
but then,
telling
like,
other Mexicans.
Any Mexican person saying this and thinks he's the Sol de Mexico. We get it.
Or sorry.
It's all good.
Well, like
Hope we didn't hurt your feelings.
We get he's an honorary Mexican, because let's be real.
Yeah.
But like no, that's like super interesting. Also, there's like and other Latin kids like who are raised here tell the exact same story.
Oh, I literally I have so many friends that'll be like, maybe they weren't born here, but like they've moved to Canada.
Obviously, they know big names like Vicente Fernandez.
Oh goodness, mariachis.
Yeah, mariachi, of course.
Rancheras.
Well, like because we like, I mean, also I think we had the added benefit that our mom is Mexican, right? And Mexican culture is known more widely.
Yeah.
Also,
in terms of music, maybe more
than the rest of Latin America, because I mean, also Mexico is like literally like a border away from America.
Well, you hear more about Mexican artists here, I would say, than other ones. Now slowly we're hearing more about Colombia and Venezuela, like J.Balvin and Maluma.
The other thing too is like now we're hearing like we're getting like cross like especially thanks to Spotify. Spotify has really changed the game in this aspect.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also, sorry to interrupt you, but like it's just slowly even you have like English artists, you know, crossing over and singing into Spanish. I remember Alejandro Fernandez, Vicente Fernandez's son, coming out with a song with Beyonce.
Yeah.
And Beyonce was singing in Spanish, and I was like, "You're singing Spanish?"
Yeah, like recently, what's her name, Megan
Trainor with CNCO, and like you
right?
have Drake singing with Bad Bunny,
yeah,
Mia,
right?
And he's singing. I was literally like, "You're singing in Spanish, dude!" Like, but then he's also sang before in Spanish with Romeo Santos.
But like, he's also like
Usher singing.
But he's
in
a Canadian
Spanish.
too. Like, I mean, I like how like, you know, America really like, I don't know what it is, but
I mean, I can say this: when I was growing up, and like it wasn't something I used to talk about. Like I grew up with Spanish music in my household, but it wasn't something I went to school and talk about. When I was younger, like the only song that I can recall that I used to talk about when I was younger was like the Macarena. That was it. But like any other Spanish music, I was kind of like something like
or Gasolina.
Or Gasolina later
oh my God,
on.
everybody
later
knew Gasolina.
On, yeah, okay, Macarena was old, but like Gasolina would be like another song.
Sing that song. I don't
by
even
Daddy
remember.
Yankee.
Yeah. It's like this is a song.
Gasolina.
Yeah, we get it.
Anyway,
I don't want to get copyright strike.
Yeah, sorry. But like stuff like that. So it was something that I just didn't talk about in school. It wasn't just like, I guess it wasn't the cool thing yet, you know. People didn't care or know about it.
Victor's generation, all of those kids basically grew up now listening to Spanish music on the radio here.
Yeah.
So like for them, it's like a normal thing now, and I'm like, since when is Latin culture so accepted in the rest of right?
The only thing I could say is like I'm a huge Selena Quintanilla fan, and for those of you who don't know who she is the queen of Mexican Tejano music. She's a Mexican American, but who sang in Spanish, and then later on crossed over to singing English songs, who died tragically later on.
There's a movie. That's how J-Lo got famous.
Yeah.
you can Google it. Yeah, you can watch the movie. I'm sure it's on Netflix.
I remember in school, I was like 14 or 13. I remember I was since I was young, I literally grew up obsessed with her, like obsessively obsessed with her. Like I knew all her songs, I sang like her, danced like her. I literally wanted to be her, literally.
You're like, I'm gonna take this void of loss that we
just like every other little Latina girl out there, probably. She was just a huge role model, a huge famous person out there who was a Latina and doing, you know, something big at the time. And so I think that's probably why as I was saying, when I was 13, 14, I literally was so obsessed. I wanted everybody to know about her. And I remember taking the movie to school with me, or getting a friend. I think it was a friend. Actually, she was a friend of mine, who was surprisingly white, who was obsessed with her too and knew her songs in English. And she had the movie. And I was like, please bring the movie to school. We got to show this movie to everybody in class. And I can't remember. We came up with some like weird elaborate plan to have this become part of our class, like as literally a class, a lesson to take over for our teacher. And so I remember we had to do we were doing biographies and autobiographies, and we're like, that's it, we got a presentation to do. And like we brought in the movie, and we're like, this is our presentation, this is who Selena is, and you're gonna learn all about her, and we're gonna watch a movie. And like
everyone's like, so you know, one of the things, I guess, like, you know, you had that. In my case, I mean, I grew up watching you be like this, so I mean, I guess I went through that too. But like, there were like, in my case, I didn't really have an artist who was like, you know, like, oh, that's the I identified with.
Yeah, me too.
Like one of the things I think is especially me, because I'm like super musically oriented as an individual.
Yeah.
But because of that, I listen to like every type of music except for country. I'm sorry for those of you who like country music. I can't do it. I don't know why.
Aww,
I can do everything else. I do literally everything else. Like J-pop, K-pop, like all like, you know.
Oh goodness.
I can do country.
I can't do. I just can't. I don't know why. Like it bugs me.
He has to listen to it anyway because my mom likes country. So
I know, but like I mean, but like every other genre of music, right? So like because I'm like, and recently I'm consuming music at a rate that's it's getting dangerous. But like because of that, there's so much variety. Also, Spanish music now is like it's in a state right now where literally they're hitting every genre.
The thing, yeah, and that's the thing that's scary. Well, I mean, like before it was like we had Spanish music and we listened to Spanish music, but now it's like this constant like I have to know who's the artist right now, or I have to know the latest Spanish song, because it's like Canadian people, like everybody are like from around the world. Did you hear the new song? And you're like, dude, and it's like every genre in Spanish that you have to like keep up with now.
Yeah. Well, like the thing too is like
because you're kind of like expected. It's like the unknown thing that.
Well, like before was
like we're so used to like listening to like pop music by like people who sing in English. Yeah. So we know like the artists that are English, and then people start listening to Latin music, and we're just like, do you know this artist? And we're just like, we've been so focused on focusing on your kind of music.
Like I said, it wasn't a big thing. I remember when I was little, the thing was the Spice Girls. I mean, literally.
You just dated yourself.
Yeah, literally. The Spice Girls, and they're on tour right now. It was just a thing. Like those kinds of songs were like I remember Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, and like the Mickey Mouse Club basically was like Justin Timberlake. All those like artists were like the thing that you needed to know about, and like. Well, it was a little bit different.
I think it's one of those, I guess, acceptance of culture. Yeah. Also, like, because
Canadians... Canadians will, like... More like a fusion of cultures,
but like, because before, all Latin music was considered, like, the genre was Latin, and now it's like a subgenre, Latin pop, Latin rap, Latin techno, Latin this, Latin that, right? So like it's like we've started like subgenreing. Is that a word? Genrering? I don't know. Like, but like we start breaking it down even more. So it's become very interesting. But it's also like an acceptance of culture here anyway, because especially in Canada anyway, because we're like super multicultural. We have people from like all over the world. Yeah. Like even places you've never heard of. Like someone be like, "Yo, that's where I'm from," and I'll be like, "I didn't even know it was a country." Like. I had to go Google it later.
Oh, goodness, Adrian.
No, what is it? Like, the other day, someone was telling me they're from Moldavia it's some country in Europe.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed.
Maldives.
I had no idea it existed. And I was like, wow. I was completely unaware. And they're like, yeah, that's where I'm from. And I was like, that's cool. I walked away, like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, and I played off like I knew what they were talking about. And I walked away Googling. I'm like, read like a Wikipedia page. Like, I just got oh, wow, that's cool.
It's like just pulls up a list of
like
every country.
What is it? Canadians have coined the term multiculturalism. And because of that, it's super interesting because like we have festivals for like all these different places. You have like the Greek festival, like the Lebanese have their own thing. Latins have their own thing.
In the summertime, we just have festivals for everything. I mean, for like every culture. You want to go to Lebanese and eat Lebanese food, you go to the festival and you eat like lots of
what
food.
Is it? We also have like
music.
What is it like? We also have like when you like if you're craving a certain type of food, there's a restaurant for it.
Oh, I'll guarantee.
You find like what is it? There's like you can go like if you want Ethiopian, you can go find an Ethiopian restaurant. If you want Italian, you can go find an Italian restaurant.
Oh, but the benefit that we have is we get the Latin food.
Like we have both sides of the coin.
You want Peruvian, so you get your ceviche. You want Salvadorian, you got your pupusa. You want Mexican, you got your enchiladas, your tacos, your chilaquiles.
And the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's such an abundance in like you said, the multiculturalism, the booming. I guess we do have options, I would say, but I think now it's more of like what's really the authentic restaurant, and I think that would be the thing that people would say is maybe not there yet.
Well, like it's also because like are trying to like do this, and it's kind of hard, right? Because like say like you open up a restaurant, right? Especially here, like like your clientele isn't just from your country, right? So certain people
you gotta tailor it a little bit more.
Yeah, you have to tailor it more to like our flavors and stuff. Like what is it? Cane's salty and sweet. Yeah. We're obsessed with it.
I mean,
we don't do bitter and we don't do sour. Right? But like Latin, we do sour and sometimes bitter. But like I mean, like when it comes to salsas and stuff. But like we don't do like right and like we do sweet and chili and like.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I mean, if you take something that you completely like literally fuse it with the culture, I'd say like there's a root from that in El Salvador. It's kind of like a potato. It's called yuca. A lot of people
you can buy it here too.
Yeah, you can buy it here too. Anyway, but some people don't know what yuca is. So
I mean,
anyway,
you can literally
it's
walk
like
into
it's kind of like it's a root that you can cut up and like it looks like potatoes. And they've now made a yuca poutine, and that poutines are Canadian, like Quebecois, you know, like it's just.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Like when we had
that
that's
just a real fusion of foods
of like Latin and Canada.
Literally,
it's like this is amazing.
El Salvador and Canada on a dish, like literally.
Yeah. Right there, yeah.
Right there. So.
And you should probably explain what a poutine is for those. I'll explain it for those who don't know.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what a poutine is, it's basically fried potatoes with cheese curds and gravy, lots of gravy
to make the cheese
very greasy. But I mean, if you don't like greasy food, it's not your piece of cake.
It's a heart attack on a plate.
Diabetes. It's good.
No, diabetes is sugar.
Once in a while, it's good, guys.
Yeah. No, that's I don't know. I guess that's cool and all, but I don't know. It's been very interesting growing up as a Latin person. I think we should talk more about that side because like someone was asking me the other day what it's like having to like tailor basically your personality based on who you're with, right? Because growing up, when I was at T.L.B.P, you know, my line like really shows when I was Canadians, you know, I become a Canadian.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's it like growing up like that? Like you never were able to solidify like one single culture. I'm like, I can't pick one.
No, because you're literally you really it's who you are. It's you
don't have to be shifting
talking about TV shows like you're talking with your friends. You're talking about El Chavo, Chispirito, and you go
like with my Latin friends, right?
You're Latin friends, right? And then when you're talking about like those are really popular ones in Latin America. Like, everybody knows what they are.
Everyone grew up watching.
It's like saying in English, Friends. You know, like everybody knows what Friends is, and like all those other shows that you know in English that.
I think it's
just like, part of the culture, and so literally, I think we've just grown up relatively well with both cultures fused together, I would say.
So like we had to go through like this whole explaining thing, but this one here doesn't. I mean, Victor, so you can't see this one. Victor, like I don't know. I find his generation like super accepting to the point of like you know like they're all still like 4-year-old kids on a playground. Like, why, like we can all be friends, you know. Like mentality. Meanwhile, like you know, all the like when we were like, I remember me when I was on, all the Asians hanged out with all the Arabs, hanged out with all the Arabs, the whites hanged out with all the whites. And, like,
well, it's like a multicultural school now.
Well, yeah. Well, like I mean, even when I was in school, it was like that. But
like there's just more.
Yeah, but
of
we
it
all
now.
like separated, and then there were like those odd groups where like it was multiple different countries.
The funny thing I always found in school was that all the Arab kids would be together and be like, "Oh, we're cousins, we're second cousins," and then if I went and hanged out with all the Latino kids, they'd be like, "Oh, he's your cousin, your brother, your sister," and like for some reason we just all had to be related, and we're like, "No, he's from like Guatemala," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Nicaragua," and like we're not like related at all, but like we feel like family because we share this language, right?
Yeah, well, we share this. Like I mean, in parentheses, because there's still like what is it? It's like a different dialect essentially.
Yeah. Oh, there's tons of dialects.
Well, actually, there's people now that try making groups. Like, they're just like, okay, we got the Arab, we got the white guy, now we gotta get Latino, now we gotta get an Asian. And they're trying to make groups with, like, all these different races so that it's just like, we're not leaving anybody out.
We're trying to be as excited or get the indigenous guy. You know, like, it's been like, and that's your generation. And it's so cool to see, like, happen, especially in high schools, because... You know, high schools used to like. I remember, like in high school, like the groups would even fight each other, and it was just like, what is wrong with you people?
Like, why are you guys trying to make competition?
I mean, we're all people.
That's true.
Well, like, and the odd thing too is like for us growing up, we went to a public school, and all Latins go to Catholic school.
That's a big thing here. If I would say, like, well, even if you weren't Catholic, you just went to Catholic school.
Yeah, well, because your parents were Catholic.
Yeah, or they, you know. they grew up in it or whatever. So, and that's one thing our parents did. Like our parents were raised in Catholicism, but they after that they weren't.
They walked away from it.
And so they put us in public schools, and that's one of the things. Like once I got to like, I'd say maybe public school, we were just so spread out. Like I remember, I think I was like one of the very few Latinas going to high school at the time, and
yeah, like I remember
I just had to hang with like all the other groups because there was no
I remember when I was
established Latino group. I guess.
No, I remember when I was younger. I think it wasn't until like grade 7 I had another Latin person in the same class as me.
Wow!
Like it took like 8 years of schooling to get to that point because we have junior senior card.
But at the same time,
like 9 years of schooling to get to that point where some other Latin person.
Actually,
and then when I got to high school, I remember it wasn't even like Latin kids from there; they were international students.
Yeah,
right. So, and with that, it was like super interesting because I was able to bond with and I'm still friends with some of them today, and it's so bizarre because of like like all your friends are like who's that? I'm like, oh, they're an international student. They're like, how do you guys communicate, right? Because they didn't speak English. So I'm like, well, we both speak Spanish. And they're all, and then it'd be like, you speak Spanish?
Yeah.
I never knew that. And they're like, and then I've had people tell me, I thought you were Filipino, or I had people tell me, I thought you were Arab. And like,
and that's the thing, right? Because we didn't have those like huge groups. I mean, I think there was only certain grades that we had in school where we hung out more with one than the other. And it wasn't like a racism thing or anything, but it's just the way things were at the time. Like you just hung out with whoever you were, it was in your culture or whatever, or your race. And then but when you didn't have those, because we were in this multicultural kind of environment, kind of people forgot you spoke another language, and so which was nice at the same time. So it wasn't like you were necessarily secluded. It wasn't like you were looking to fit in necessarily. It was just you could adapt very well,
or they put you into another category too. I always found that super interesting. I mean, for me,
I realized that in elementary school, you won't see that many Latino people up until you get into high school. Like, then you're just like, my people, where have you been?
See, for me, it was the opposite. I think, but that's different. Like, for me, in my case, it was more in the elementary that I had a lot of Latino friends. When I got to high school, it was like, where did they all go?
Like Adrian, I didn't have a Latino friend in my class until like I was in grade 4.
Oh, okay. No, that's a lot longer. Yeah. That's a lot shorter than me. That's 6 years.
Yeah. I didn't have until I was, I mean, I knew kids in the school that were Latino.
But they were like older.
But they were older or younger than me. But in my class, like completely like full in my class, I'd say it was until like grade 5 maybe. And yeah, I think it was grade 5 maybe.
Oh wow! No, but see, that too. That really changed a lot of stuff for us.
Grade 7 and 8 was the best.
Yeah, but like,
that's all. It's because you get to rule the school.
No, I remember.
It's because we in the area where we lived, we just you had to go to the school where you lived by. Yeah. And but when you got to elementary, like grade 7 and 8, we from all different schools, you had to go to this specific one, and so. Oh, that's where everybody showed up.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I'm not alone.
Exactly.
Sadly, we are running out of time.
Oh goodness, already? We didn't even talk about anything. I feel like we talked about food. We talked about music.
We talked about you singing.
We talked about our culture.
Yeah. I mean,
because what do you mean we didn't talk about anything?
I mean, we are too Latin. We are too Latin. Well, too Latin. Both.
I think this is the most Latin episode.
Yeah. It took 6 episodes to get here, guys.
We should call it like the title.
I'll be back, you guys. Don't worry.
We'll see.
I'm inviting myself again.
We'll see. We'll probably do a poll or so. I don't know.
Come on, guys. Give a lot of views.
No, it's not views. It's plays.
Plays, my man.
Plays. Listen.
I'm new to the podcast thing, everyone. So not new to listening to them, but definitely new to being on them.
Well, this is your first episode ever.
Yeah.
Like it's your first time.
Well, like normally the way we record is like it'll be just me and Victor, and when it's just me and him, it's kind of hard to like hold the conversation, keep going, because one of the things is like every week it's like what do I talk about, right? Because you don't know, and then somehow he'll say something or I'll say something that'll trigger a story, and we'll just go from there. But it's kind of odd, and
the side stories are the best stories.
Yeah.
When we're all together, like, it's just, I mean, I cut you guys off so much because I'm just used to it. I'm just like, you guys will listen. I know you guys don't mind it really.
Well, it's because you're the eldest.
But I got my power. I'm joking. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I if there's something more I could say about myself, if you guys want to hear it more, is I just love, I am obsessed with languages. I love languages.
So you speak English, French,
I speak
Spanish.
English, French, Spanish,
A little bit
And
of
a
Portuguese.
and a little Portuguese. So I'm trying to tackle more on there. I guess that could be like my hobby, another hobby. Literally,
Picking up languages.
I'm really good at picking up languages.
And lucky you, I can barely speak English.
Of course, all these languages follow the Latin alphabet, so I haven't had to learn any hieroglyphics or anything.
Yeah, I figured out that if you learn English, you can learn French. If you learn English and French, you can learn Spanish. If you know those 3 languages, you can learn Portuguese. And if you know all those languages, you can learn Italian. And you can work the same way backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I gotta tackle on Italian next, but
I mean,
it's just something I love. I just love.
You just want to be able to speak to everybody.
Yeah, that too. And it literally catches people off guard when I'll be like, I'll just talk to someone and talk to them in Spanish, and then I'll see somebody else and be like, oh, I'll talk to them in Portuguese, and then I'll see somebody else and talk to them in French, and they're like, how many languages do you speak?
Don't you get tongue tied though? Like
I do. At some point, I do.
Like currently, like what I'm doing for my college, like I have to translate, and man, like when I'm telling the person in English, I'll keep talking to them in Spanish, and the person I'm translating for will be like, you forgot to switch languages, and I'll be like, right, like
yeah. Oh, I definitely get tongue tied by the end of it. I mean, I've had it where literally I'm speaking Spanish, English, French, Portuguese, and English all at the same time, and it does at the end. I mean, not in the moment I don't get tongue tied, but then when when I switch over to one language, that's when I have like mental blocks.
Well, they say that when you're switching between languages is the moment you use the more brain power, because it's like a complete like shift in gear, and every time you do it, and we do it like
for Spanglish, we do it normally.
We do it normally, so like our brain is trained to do it fairly well. But like apart from that, I mean, it's a lot of brain power. I have a friend who she says that her husband's a translator, and she says that he comes home and he's exhausted. Like just mentally, because he's just like brain dead.
Well, I don't know. I can't recall the name of the study and by who, but I was reading that apparently the more languages you speak, the less chance you have of getting or developing dementia, Alzheimer's, and
all right, we're gonna end it here.
Yeah.
Okay, you can close us out, Victor.
Okay, well, this has been 2 Latin Brothers with the
Bella.
guest Bella, our sister.
Yeah.
You can find us
almost everywhere except for Google Podcasts, because Google Podcasts is mean and they don't accept our podcast.
And SoundCloud.
Well, I'm not uploading SoundCloud. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And apparently, who knows if I'll be back?
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't
I don't know.
We're pretty booked, actually.
Bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.